Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer in Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. We're back with another song review today from Scottish rock band Frightened Rabbit. Let's start with a content warning. I guess we're going to talk about suicide a bit today and anxiety and chronic mental health issues. This is a song that's been in the rotation for a long time. I think people who have, I don't know, grown up or just like indie rock are familiar with Frightened Rabbit. There's a lot of interplay and a lot of connections that the band made with other people and famous indie bands, touring and a lot of stuff in the Scotland area. So Glasgow and Edinburgh and some of the music festivals that go along there. So this is a little bit of an older song. It's oldie but a goodie. So we're going to talk about the mental health aspects of the Woodpile by Frightened Rabbit. Keeping my preamble short today. Look at me. All right, let's go.
Far from the electric floor, removed from the red meat market, I look for a fire door, an escape from the drums and barking, bereft of all social charms. Struck down by the hand of fear, I fall into the coroner's arms. Same way that I've done for years, I'm trapped in a collapsing building. Come find me now, we'll hide and we'll speak in our secret tongues. We come back to my corner, spent too long alone tonight. Would you come and right in my corner? I live towards the woodpile high.
Okay. Verse 1. So I think in the way that a lot of good art is subjective to the observer or the listener, the song I think can do a lot of different things for people. Whenever I think about firewood or fires in general, like I'm always kind of envisioning like a campfire. So my brain has always done something a little different with the song than I think is what I've seen from other people who have done reviews or stuff, which talk about like really being overwhelmed in a social setting, far from the electric floor, removed from the red meat market, like whether that's at a club or that's at a party. And the songwriter for Frightened Rabbit, Scott Hutchinson, who's the lead singer here, talks about like it's this big kind of like bombastic, in your face rock anthem that's full of confidence and like swagger, and like it's about anxiety. So when I look for a fire door and escape from the drums and barking, like I like that idea. For me, when my brain's looking for an escape, I always think of nature, and so I have this campfire, which is not inherently what the song's about. But it's interesting to kind of look at it from a perspective of like an introvert or somebody who's struggling with anxiety, that a lot of social interactions can be really overwhelming. And I talk with clients a lot about how social interactions or stress or really like anything requires resources. And so we have a certain number of resources, and from a physiological perspective, our brain requires those resources in order to do things like talk, like problem solve, like be good communicators, be good active listeners, whatever. That all requires resources. And so when it gets into bereft of all social charms, I'm struck down by the hand of fear. Like that could be like a panic attack. That also could be limited number of resources. And so I think it's interesting. And, I gave the content warning at the beginning just because Scott Hutchinson died in 2018, 2019, after battling with some chronic mental health issues for a long time. He committed suicide. And so it was like kind of this really sad loss of like an artist who'd been very open about their mental health, an artist who had talked about seeking help and getting help and wanting to help other people and being kind of owning it, and like that being a part of their work. And so I think just like some of this stuff hits different now listening to it versus being like a fan and being like, oh, they're out on tour, or like, I wonder when the next album's coming out. So I think it adds urgency is maybe the wrong word, but I think it adds some weight to some of these meanings, that like this isn't just like a little thing for some people, like anxiety or depression, body image issues, neurodivergence, like any of these things that we might consider to be mental health issues, if they're unmanaged and they get bad enough, can be like debilitating for people. And so we have this idea of, famous rock stars. Maybe you don't know Frightened Rabbit. Maybe it's not a household name, but like Linkin Park, or like, we've had all these musical artists throughout history, honestly, who have died too young, whether through suicide or through an accidental overdose, but also like addictions or substance use, substance abuse, because of other mental health issues, the stress of being a celebrity, of being on tour away from your support system, having to make money against me. Like, it's one of those things where I think there's some truth to, like, money doesn't solve all problems. There's some truth to the fact that we have research and statistics that say money solves a lot of problems. Like, to have money versus to be in poverty, having money is better. But again, there's no solution to, I don't want to say, like, I'm not being doom and gloom. Like, money is not a solution to some of these things. Just because you're in a rock band or you're a famous person doesn't mean that you're not struggling with your mental health. Mental health doesn't discriminate, and being mentally well is active work for everyone. And some people start with a lot of resources, whether that's nature, they're born with them through their biology, or it's nurture, where they have a really great support system, and they have been given a lot in their life, or have a lot of privilege in their life, or whatever the case may be. And some people start with very few resources. And so it's one of those things where mental health doesn't discriminate. Normalizing some of this, and having people, famous people who are dealing with their mental health issues, be open about those things and normalize those things, can be really helpful. So again, like, this song goes way back and has been in the rotation for a long time, but it's also one of those songs that, like, as a mental health professional, like, yeah, like, it's so good for people to be like, oh, my famous rock star that I look up to also has anxiety, or has social anxiety, or, struggles with their mental health, or has depressive thoughts or thoughts of suicide. Like, these are not bad things in and of themselves. These are things that we want to be open and talk about and seek help as needed, and build our support system out. So, but yes, as an introvert, I've fallen into the corner's arms, same way that I've done for years. Um, People are often surprised to find out that I'm an introvert. And there's scaling for that. It's like extrovert, introvert on opposite ends of the spectrum, but there's a lot of space in between. I'm an extroverted introvert. So in the right setting, around the right people, I can be quite outgoing and gregarious. But like, at a bar, I'm going to find a quiet spot and not interact with people, because one, it's overstimulating. I have ADHD. It's the wrong kind of stimulation generally, and two, that's hard for me to like be relaxed when there's a lot of people around. I'm too aware, hyper aware, on guard for sensory input, for other stuff, social expectations. Like, meeting social norms is work. And so, yeah, like, I relate to this a lot. Like, in social settings, I'm that person who's like, go find the pet, or like, go outside. Um, and it's easier for me to socialize in small groups or one-on-one. So I think this is a lot of people's experience. If this is kind of like a party setting, or, the electric floor, maybe it's a club, or it's a wedding reception, or whatever. It's a larger social event. I'm trapped in a collapsing building. So there's that claustrophobia of too much, too loud, too many social expectations, too many unknown people that might cause anxiety, too many people with differing views or opinions, or desires for how the evening's going to go. And so there can be a lot in social settings that are overwhelming, even if there's nothing actively stressful in that moment. So, and then the chorus, come find me now, we'll hide out, we'll speak in our secret tongues. Will you come back to me in my corner? Like the support system, having your people who know to check in on you, having your people who you can text quietly. The song probably, I mean, texting existed, but um, it's not. Again, we forget how ubiquitous some of the social connections we have through technology were that weren't in the 2000s, late aughts, where like now texting and video calling and all this stuff has become so normalized. Like that's a recent trend. So having someone who's physically doing some of this stuff with you or going to these places with you, like I have my people who are okay. They're on my okay list to like go to a concert with or to go see something that might be a lot of social expectation or pressure, too many people, too crowded, too loud, too noisy, whatever. Having your people, having your support system who can come meet you in the corner, who can come support you. Secret tongues, you have your language, your code words, you have your phrase or your check-in statements. That's all really helpful stuff. And I think, again, like normalizing some of this stuff, it's okay. Like you're not less than, you're not bad or wrong or broken. Like some people are extroverted and they recharge their batteries through social interaction, and some people get overwhelmed and it takes a lot from them and they need to recharge in different ways. So spent too long alone tonight. Would you come brighten my corner? Lit torched the woodpile high. I think it's Woodpile High. He's Scottish, so I've also seen lyrics that say Woodpile High. And like I love the way he rolls his R's. As an American Midwesterner who has like the worst accent, we say our A's really long. The Uber accent, I don't quite have it that bad, and I don't think it's as bad as a Minnesota accent. As somebody who spent significant time in the state of Minnesota. Um, we don't have fun accents. People will make fun of us and can do our accent, but it's not a fun one. Where like, yeah, Scottish accent is great. Like the rolling the R's, some of the ways that the lyrics roll out of someone who has an accent, it's very engaging. I like it. It's fun. Totally off topic, but like it is. It's been on my mind lately that like the reason Bluey is so popular, especially in America, is because like we just like that accent, and it's not Scottish, it's Australian, but like yeah, we like an accent. Bluey's good. I'm not saying that's the only reason Bluey is popular, but that I think is part of it. Okay. Lyric verse 2.
Ignite. There's no spark on a dampened floor, a snap limb in an unlit pie. Won't you come and break down this door? I'm trapped in an abandoned building. Come find me now, we're a hideout. We'll speak in our secret tongues. Will you come back to my corner? Spent too long alone tonight. Would you come and brighten my corner? A lit torch to Woodpile High.
I guess we can pause before the bridge. Okay, so yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that goes through my head because one, I love nature, and for me, nature's always been really grounding. So even though, verse 1 kind of sets this idea of like social overwhelm, verse 2 really is kind of more like isolation or loneliness. So dead wood waits to ignite. There's no spark on a dampened floor. Snapped limb in an unlit fire. Won't you come and break down this door? So it's almost the other end of the pendulum swing where instead of being at a party or being at an event or a club or whatever and being overwhelmed, now we've avoided those things. there's no spark, unlit fire. We're trapped in a abandoned building. So verse 1, trapped in a collapsing building. Verse 2, trapped in an abandoned building. Like, we now there's no social charge, there's no social interaction. We've gone totally the other way, and we need our support person to come get us, as opposed to like check in on us when we're overwhelmed. Now they need to check in us when we're perhaps understimulated or not socializing. Because again, the way that some of this stuff works is there might be symptoms in the moment, or there might be issues that rise as our stress level goes up. But anxiety, depression, a lot of these things, I always say, like, these things are liars. So we're not our anxiety. We as a human person are not our anxiety or our depression. Those are things that happen to us, that happen in our brain, and they're liars. So anxiety will tell you to not leave the house. Depression will tell you to lie in bed all day, to not eat, to not hydrate, to not take care of yourself, that people don't like you or don't want to spend time with you. And when that replays in your head, that can get very overwhelming. And so a support system, and some of this is work that we have to do on our own, not on our own, not like alone, but like this work, some of this is work we have to do internally to learn how to manage it and navigate it so that we can communicate to our support system. But then when we have a good support system, being able to get to that point where we can communicate, hey, this is what I need. Hey, if you don't hear from me after so long, come check on me, or send me a text, or give me a call, or just come hang out sometimes. So again, like, spent too long alone tonight, would you come brighten my corner? A lit torch to the woodpile high. Like, there are resources, there's fuel available to burn, but sometimes that spark has to come from an external source. And I talk about internal and external motivation a lot. Like, too much or too little of one in without the other can certainly get problematic. So I guess I would just say, when it gets unbalanced, it can be a problem, even if you're way on the side of an introvert, or you're way on the side of an extrovert. There's still like a range in which it works. It doesn't need to balance 50-50. It just needs to be balanced for you personally. So like, checking in and with yourself is great, and being able to say, like, here's how I regulate my system, here's how I self-soothe, here's what stress relief looks like, this is what self-care looks like, this is what joy in my life looks like. All that is great, and good to be able to do by yourself, because sometimes you are by yourself, and there are people who really need a support system. It takes a village. That's a thing that I firmly believe, and I say often. So building out your support system so that it isn't required that you have to do it on your own, that you're capable and able of doing it on your own, but you also have the support when you want and or need it. And so, like, I like the juxtaposition of not just it's this big confident song that is then about anxiety. So I love songs that sound one way, but the lyrics are a different thing. But it's also this song that shows the overwhelm in a social instance, and then the other end of the pendulum of overwhelm in isolation. So yeah, and then a great bridge, and we'll have an outro here. Let's go there now. Such a good song. So the song just hits different, right? When you have grief or loss attached to it. Scott Hutchinson was the lead singer, and so his family and the bandmates kind of collaborated and got together after his death, and they started a charity which you can learn about and you can support. That's over at tinychanges.com, which is a lyric from another song that they have, the Tiny Changes. And I think I don't know how else are you supposed to respond to something like that, but to say like, right, like there isn't a way that you can say this won't affect you. Mental health does not discriminate. And so building out support systems, the Tiny Changes organization is really geared towards helping young people deal with their mental health issues, to get support, to normalize and destigmatize seeking mental health support. They're based in Scotland. So like if you haven't heard from it and you're in America, you're like, why haven't, well, like it's a Scottish thing. But again, like really good. They have support throughout the country there in Scotland, and they have musical artists and venues and a celebrity or a charity concert series that celebrity guests come through on. And so like that's really wonderful. They've got some merch and stuff that you can buy to support their cause, and all that 100% of the proceeds go to supporting children's mental health. So like that's lovely. But the entire band is Frightened Rabbit is a reference to that was a nickname Scott had growing up that his mom gave to him because he was an anxious kid. Like sometimes we see mental health kick in around 18 to 21, kind of where our brain has had enough development that it'll actually, like a thing that is within us genetically will kick in, where there will be enough stress to trigger something. So like schizophrenia, for example, we it exists, we see it before 18, but around those like 18 to 22 years is where we'll see a lot of people have their first psychotic break. Some things with like bipolar disorder and some of those other things will kick in those years because some level of brain development needs to occur. And like that's kind of paradoxical that like you almost have to develop into it. But also stress, like there's a precipitant, there's a trigger. So there's the genetic component, and then there's usually an environmental component. For a lot of times, for children's mental health, there's not an obvious precipitant. There's not something that we see. There's not inherently an accumulation of stress. It is a physiological, a biological thing. And so, if you're 9 or 10 and you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, like there's no logic to it. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no precipitant to it. It is a medical issue. It's a mental health concern where like your brain is saying, I don't want to be alive anymore. And like to have someone support you through that and not make you feel bad about it, but also like help you find healthy coping and build and accept and create space for like good things and joyful things in your life. I talked about like the Chester Bennington, the lead singer from Linkin Park. Like one of the heartbreaking things from his suicide is like there's a video of him the night earlier, and he's like playing a game with like friends and family backstage, and he's laughing and smiling, having a good time. And like it's not the vision people, society, pop culture has of someone who's struggling. We think depression means you're in bed all day. That's the example I used earlier for when depression lies to you. But like a lot of people are dealing with mental health issues in a functional, according to society, a functional way where they're getting through the day, they're showing up to work on time, whatever, but they're struggling. And so these things, these charities that help to outreach, that help normalize these things, that help give resources to kids and also teach healthy coping to kids, like I don't know, in 5th grade, I had to memorize the order of the US presidents, and perhaps it would have been better to learn how to do breathing techniques in 5th grade. Maybe it would have been better to do some self-care, some coping skills instead of junior choir or whatever else I was doing in 5th grade. I just know junior choir was 5th grade. It's a traumatic thing for me because I'm not good at music or singing. So yeah, like these resources are really important across the world. In Scotland, in the United States, in the UK, mental health is underfunded. We are dealing with crisis on top of crisis for mental health. Pre-COVID, there was already a mental health crisis. Coming out of COVID, post-COVID, there's even more. People have gone through a collective trauma together. We know generationally and how intergenerational trauma works with World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, like all these wars and all these things. Like these traumas don't go away. I look at like the millennials, and like we lived through Columbine and nothing happened. We just had to be unsafe permanently. And there's a school shooting every day now. So like still unsafe. And so like anxiety, concern about climate change, like these are real things. And these are things that kids are growing up with, young kids are growing up with that, some of us had to deal with Columbine and while I was in grade school, elementary school, and then September 11th was also the World Trade Center attacks also while I was in grade school. So like this two big cultural, societal level traumas to live through at a young age before your brain really knows how to process that stuff. So resources for kids for mental health are great and wonderful. And we have political parties who like fight this stuff, who don't want kids to get lunch and think that teaching kids about how to manage their emotions is unhealthy. So they're easier to manipulate when they get older. I don't know. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around why that is a good thing, why we want kids to be emotionally unstable or suffer unnecessarily. But that's why I'm not a politician and I'm a therapist, I guess, because I care about people. Um, taking some swings at politicians here. So yeah, Frightened Rabbit, I mean, a lot of their songs are about mental health. I'm arbitrarily choosing my favorite song, the song that I've known for the longest, I guess. They have a lot of good songs, a lot of good mental health interviews and normalizing. So like a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is out there and is helpful. Tiny Changes is the organization, the foundation they started. It's really great and does some great work over in Scotland. So you can find them on social media and or go check out their website at tinychanges.com. So that stuff's all really great. If you're not familiar with the band, again, check out their catalog. They've got 5 albums. They've got crossover stuff with one of my favorite bands, The National. Aaron Dessner produced one of their albums, and it has a song in memory of Scott Hutchison on the Big Red Machine album that he's a part of. So like, again, this band is maybe not that mainstream, everyone household name, but like a lot of musicians interacted with this band, played with this band. This band opened for them, or they opened for this band. They've been cross paths and collaborated and all these things. So if you're new to the band, check out their whole thing. If you know the band but didn't know any of the backstory or about like the organization or anything, tinychanges.com, go check them out. That's really great. And thanks for hanging out with me for a minute today. I appreciate it. If you can like and subscribe, share. I'm out here, not a professional podcaster, not a professional YouTuber. I am a professional therapist, a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's my main gig. This is kind of what I do as a creative outlet, but also to get the message out to help destigmatize mental health and normalize that mental health is for everyone. Podcast, your therapist needs therapy, because I want to normalize that even us professionals need help to be mentally healthy. Even us professionals have our support systems in place, and it really does take a village. So thanks for being part of my village, y'all. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Peace.